You are good with your hands. You always have been. Your mother used to say it when you'd fix the kitchen sink at 12 years old, when you'd rewire the lamp nobody else could figure out, when you'd stitch up your own knee with a sewing needle and fishing line after a bike accident and never once flinched. Good hands, she'd say. You should be a surgeon. You tried, you made it 3 years into medical school before the money ran out. No scholarship, no family to call, no safety net, just debt and a letter from the registrar's office telling you your enrollment had been suspended pending payment. You appealed twice, both times, denied. You packed a single bag and left the dorm on a Tuesday afternoon and never went back. You didn't say goodbye to anyone. There was nobody to say it to. But you kept the textbooks. You read them at night after your shift at the hospital, where you work as a surgical technician. You hand doctors the tools they need. You watch their hands. You study every incision, every suture, every decision made under pressure in a room where the margin for error is zero. You've been doing it for 6 years. You know more than most residents. You know the name of every instrument before the surgeon asks for it. You know when a procedure is going wrong before anyone in the room will admit it. You just don't have the piece of paper that says so. That's how Dimitri finds you. He's not a patient. He's not a doctor. He finds you in the parking garage on a Wednesday night, stepping out of the elevator with your scrub still on, your shoes still marked with someone else's blood. He says your name. You stop. He tells you he's heard you're talented. He tells you he has a business opportunity. He hands you a card with nothing on it but a phone number. You throw it away. 3 weeks later, you fish it out of your memory and dial it at 1 a.m. when your landlord's eviction notice is sitting on your counter and your sister needs $800 for her car payment and you have $214 in your account. You sit in the dark with the phone in your hand for 20 minutes before you press call. You tell yourself you're just going to listen. Just hear what he has to say. You tell yourself that listening isn't agreeing, that curiosity isn't commitment. You've been telling yourself things like that your whole life. Dimitri answers on the first ring like he was expecting you. The first job is simple. That's what he tells you. A man in a hotel room, already sedated, already prepped. You just need to remove one kidney. Clean, fast, professional. The recipient is waiting. Everything is arranged. You just need to show up and use your hands. You tell yourself it's victimless. The man is paid. You find that out later. That the donors are compensated, that some of them are willing, that some of them are desperate enough that willing and coerced look identical from the outside. You file that information somewhere deep and you don't look at it directly. You show up. The hotel room has been converted into something almost clinical. Plastic sheeting on the floor, a portable light rig above the bed, an IV already running, a cooler in the corner, packed with ice. A woman named Sarah stands beside the bed. She hands you gloves without being asked. She's done this before, many times, by the look of her. You work for 40 minutes. Your hands don't shake. You remove the kidney cleanly, without complication, with the kind of precision that makes Sarah look at you differently halfway through. When you're done, she seals the organ in the cooler and zips her bag and leaves without a word. You close the donor, stitch him tight, check his vitals one more time. He'll wake up in 4 hours. He'll be sore for a week. He'll have a scar and $15,000 and a story he'll never tell anyone. Dimitri pays you $8,000 cash in an envelope slid under your door the next morning. You pay your rent. You send your sister the $800. You buy groceries and sit at your kitchen table and eat breakfast and feel almost normal. Almost. The second job comes 2 weeks later, then a third, then it becomes regular, predictable, a rhythm you fall into without noticing. Twice a month, sometimes 3 times. Always the same setup. Hotel room, portable equipment, Sarah with her bag and her silence. Always a cooler. Always an envelope the next morning. You develop a system. You keep a second phone. You keep a bag packed. You tell your supervisor at the hospital you have a sick relative out of town to explain the occasional disappearances. You buy better tools with your own money. A proper retractor, a suction device, a portable pulse oximeter. You become very good at this. You start to notice things. The way certain donors look at the ceiling while you prep them, eyes open, somewhere else entirely. The way some of them grip the edge of the table before the sedative takes hold, knuckles white, then slowly letting go. You learn not to look at their faces for too long. You learn to focus on the work, the anatomy, the problem in front of you. You learn to be in the room without really being in the room. That's a skill too, you tell yourself. Surgeons learn it. Soldiers learn it. Anyone who does hard things in hard places eventually learns to split themselves in two. The part that acts and the part that watches from somewhere further back. Detached, clinical, safe, you get good at the split, better than you expected. Some nights you drive home and realize you can barely remember the job at all. Just the gloves coming off, just the envelope, just the drive home through empty streets with the radio on low. That's the thing nobody tells you, how quickly the extraordinary becomes ordinary. How the first time you held a living organ in your hands, time stopped, your vision went white at the edges, and you thought you might pass out from the sheer weight of what you were doing. The organ was warm. That's what you weren't prepared for. The weight of it and the warmth of it and the fact that 20 minutes ago, it was inside a living person doing the quiet, thankless work of keeping them alive. You stood there holding it like you were holding something sacred, like you were holding something you had no right to touch. How by the 15th time, it was just a procedure, just a problem to be solved. You stopped feeling the warmth. You stopped feeling most things, actually. You noticed it the way you notice a light going out in a room you don't use much, quietly, without ceremony. You stop counting at 20. Then Dimitri calls about a different kind of job. Not a kidney, not a liver segment, something else. He doesn't say it directly, he never does, but you understand what he's describing. Non-consented. Someone who won't be waking up after. Someone who doesn't know they're in the hotel room for this reason. Someone who was brought there under completely different pretenses entirely. You tell him no. He's quiet for a long time. Then he says he understands. He says it's not a problem. He says he'll find someone else. He hangs up. For 2 weeks, nothing happens. No calls, no envelopes, no jobs. You go to work at the hospital. You hand surgeons their tools. You watch their hands. You go home. You sleep fine mostly. You tell yourself you drew a line and held it, and that means something. That the line is real. That you are still the person who drew it. You say it enough times that it starts to feel true. That's the trick with lines. Say them out loud and they start to feel like walls. Then Sarah shows up at your apartment door. She's never come to your home before. You didn't think she knew where you lived. She comes inside without being invited and sits at your kitchen table and folds her hands in front of her and looks at you with an expression that isn't threatening exactly, but isn't friendly either. There are circles under her eyes you never noticed in the hotel rooms. She looks older here, in regular light, in a regular room. She looks like someone who has been carrying something heavy for a very long time and has simply stopped expecting to put it down. She tells you that Dimitri isn't angry. She tells you that's not why she's here. She tells you she's been doing this for 11 years and that she came to warn you because nobody warned her and she wishes they had. There is no line, she says. You think there is. Everyone thinks there is at first. You think you're a person who does certain things and not other things, and that the things you won't do define you, protect you, keep you human. But the line isn't real. The line is just where you are right now. And right now is not where you were 2 years ago. And 2 years from now, you won't be here either. You just won't see it happening. That's the design. That's always the design. You ask her what she means. She looks around your kitchen. She looks at the textbooks stacked on your shelf. The ones from medical school. The ones you still read at night like you're still preparing for something. She asks if you remember the first job. The hotel room. The nerves. The way your hands felt holding the organ for the first time. You remember. Does it feel the same now, she asks? You don't answer. You don't need to. She already knows. She stands up. She buttons her coat. She walks to your door and opens it and pauses with her hand on the frame. She turns back once. Her face in the doorway looks like someone saying goodbye to something they already lost a long time ago. You're good with your hands, she says. Better than anyone I've worked with. Better than some surgeons I've seen with actual degrees. She pauses. That's not a compliment. That's just the reason they'll never let you walk away. People like Dimitri don't retire their best tools. They just find new uses for them. She leaves. The door closes softly behind her. You sit at the table for a long time in the quiet. You look at the textbooks. You look at your hands. You think about the first job, the warmth of it. You think about the line you drew. You think about what Sarah said about the line not being real, and you feel something shift inside you, something quiet and final, like a door closing in a room you can't find your way back to. You take out your phone, not the second phone, the real one. You pull up the registrar's number for the medical school, the one you memorized years ago and never deleted. You stare at it for a long time, long enough that the screen goes dark. You tap it awake. You stare a little longer. You think about the dorm room, the bag, the Tuesday afternoon. You think about how certain you were, back then, that the story wasn't over, that it was just paused, that the person you were supposed to become was still out there waiting, patient, holding the door open. You put the phone down. You pick up the second phone. You text Dimitri 2 words, "I'm available." His response comes in under a minute. "Good, tomorrow night." You set the phone on the table. You go to the sink and wash your hands. You watch the water run over them. You think about all the times these hands have done something they couldn't take back. The first job, the 20th, everything in between. You wonder if Sarah still thinks about hers. You wonder if thinking about it even matters anymore, or if the thinking is just something you do to feel like you're still a person who cares. You dry your hands carefully, the way you always do before a procedure. You go to bed. You close your eyes. You sleep fine. That's what scares you most. Not the work. Not what's coming tomorrow night. Not the line you crossed, or the one you're about to. What scares you most is how easy the sleeping has become. How the dark used to keep you awake, and now it just feels like dark. Your mother was right. You are good with your hands. You just never asked good for what.